On the day of Sarah's wedding, her chief bridesmaid turned her into a giant python. This is how it all started. Saria was so happy when her wedding date was fixed that she went straight to her best friend Jumai to share the good news. But she didn't know that this was the biggest mistake of her life. When Sa told Jumai, Jumai clapped her hands, danced and shouted, "My friend is getting married, everyone come and celebrate with me." She danced in front of her house, smiling so widely, making it look like she was the happiest person alive. But Jum's smile was fake. Deep inside she was burning with jealousy. Jumai was the type of person who couldn't stand anyone doing better than her, especially her friends. She always competed with them, whether it was about clothes, beauty, or even how many people liked her. Jumai wanted to be the first and the best at everything. If her friend bought a dress, she had to buy a better one. If a friend styled their hair well, she would make hers even better. This wedding was no different. Seeing Sura, her closest friend, getting married first felt like a sharp stab to her pride in her heart. Jumai didn't see Sarah's wedding as a celebration. She saw it as a battle. She was losing as she danced. She vowed to do anything to stop it, but for now she would continue to pretend. Sa said with her usual gentle voice, "Thank you, Jumai, you are such a good friend. But I need a favor from you." "What is it?" Jumi asked as they walked into a room and sat on the bed. "I want you to be my chief bridesmaid," Sa said, smiling warmly. Jumai hugged her and said, "Of course, I'll be honored to be your chief bridesmaid. Don't worry, I'll take care of everything." Sa felt grateful and left, happy to have such a good friend. But Jumai locked herself in her room and started thinking, "How can Sa get married before me?" Jumai muttered, "People will laugh at me. They'll say all my friends are married except me. I can't let this happen." Her mind grew darker as she kept thinking. Finally she whispered, "No, this wedding will never happen over my dead body. I will not fold my hand and allow this marriage to happen." For 2 days Jumai stayed mostly in her room, thinking of ways to stop Saraya's marriage. Evil thoughts filled her mind. She first considered going to Marcus, Sarah's husband-to-be, and telling him lies about Sa. She planned to create a convincing story that could destroy their marriage plans. Then she thought about another plan, lying to Sa and saying that Marcus had tried to rape her. This idea stayed in her head for hours, but after thinking hard she realized it wouldn't work. If people asked her for proof, she wouldn't have anything to show. Jumai refused to give up. She decided that the only way to succeed was to use spiritual means. She thought about this plan for a week and finally made up her mind. One morning she went deep into the forest to see a native doctor, someone known for his wickedness. While all this was happening, Saya was at home happily preparing for her wedding. She trusted Jumai completely and even gave her many responsibilities for the event. Sa believed Jumai was helping her from the heart because of all the visitors coming in and out of her house. Sa moved some of her valuables, like her silver necklace, to Jum's room for safekeeping. Each time they met, Jumai would smile and praise Sa, saying how wonderful the wedding would be. But behind her sweet words were evil plans. Sa was kind-hearted and generous. It was this goodness that made Marcus fall deeply in love with her. Their love was pure and unshakable. If Jumi had gone through with her plans to lie about Saraya and Marcus, it wouldn't have worked. Their love was stronger than anything, stronger than diamonds, and Jumi was about to learn that some things can't be broken by jealousy or evil. Jumai stepped into the native doctor's shrine, her heart burning with hatred. She explained her problem and demanded, "You must stop the marriage. Do whatever it takes to stop it. She cannot marry before me." Jumai said, her face hard with anger. The old man listened quietly. Then he chanted some incantations, calling out Sa and Marcus' names. When he was done, he shook his head and said, "I cannot stop this marriage. The love between them is too strong. No enchantment can break it." Jum's face fell, but the old man wasn't finished. "This marriage will go on except if you are willing to do the unthinkable." "I am willing to do anything," Jumai replied quickly. The old man stared at her and said, "This marriage can only be stopped if one of them is dead." Jumai froze. She had wanted to stop the wedding, but the thought of killing someone terrified her. Fear gripped her heart. "Isn't there another way?" she asked, her voice shaking. "There is another way," the native doctor replied, "but it is not much better than death." "What is it?" Jumai asked eagerly. "One of them must be turned into an animal. The person will wander in the forest for the rest of their life," he said. Then, after a pause, he added, "Many people would rather die than face such a fate. So what will you choose?" Jumai stood there, torn between two terrible options. A part of her wanted to leave and forget everything, but another part pushed her to stay and finish what she started. "What kind of animal will she turn into?" she asked. The old man replied, "Only the gods can decide that. I do not know." Jumai Thought for a moment, then made her choice turn her into an animal. She said finally, deep down, she tried to silence her guilty conscience by telling herself, after I get married, I will come back and undo the charm. Sa can become human again. The native doctor nodded and told her the items needed for the spell. Jumai assured him she could provide them among the items she was required to bring. Sarah's hair and her underwear. The underwear had to be something that had touched Sarah's sweat. Jumai left the shrine and headed straight to Sarah's home. It was still morning when she arrived, and she was welcomed warmly as always. Everyone and Sarah's family treated her like one of their own. Sarah's mother in particular adored Jumai. When Sa told her mother that Jumai would be her chief bridesmaid, her mother happily agreed. How are the preparations coming along? Jumai asked as she sat beside Sa on the bed. Thanks to you, everything is going smoothly, Sarah replied with a grateful smile. At that moment, Sarah's mother called her. Sa, go and get food for your friend. Sa obediently got up and left the room. The moment Sa was out of sight, Jum's heart began to race. Now is my chance, she thought. She grabbed Sa's comb, pulled out a handful of hair and quickly stuffed it into her bag. Then her eyes darted to the basket of clothes by the corner. She hurriedly took a bra and shoved it into her bag as well. Her hands trembled slightly as she tucked the items away, but she forced herself to act calm. By the time Sa returned with a tray of food, Jumai was sitting casually as if nothing had happened. Sa placed a food in front of Jumai and teased, Mama says you must finish all this food. Jumai laughed nervously. How on earth am I supposed to finish this mountain of food, she joked, and they both burst into laughter. After eating, Sa walked Jumai out of the house. Along the way, they talked about the wedding plans. Jumai promised to do more to support the preparations, her words dripping with false sincerity. Sarah waved her goodbye, and Jumai returned home. When she reached her house, she rested briefly, but her mind was already planning the next step. Later that day, she went to the market and bought a large goat and the other items needed for the sacrifice. One of the requirements was a live snake. As luck would have it, a hunter was returning home that evening with a baby python in a cage. Jumai brought it along with a cage the next morning. Jumai gathered all the items and began the long walk to the forest. The heavy goat tugged at her hand, and the basket holding Sarah's hair and bra felt unbearably weighty. Each step she took brought a pang of guilt. Her conscience whispered, what are you doing? Jumai, Sa has been nothing but a good friend to you. She doesn't deserve this. Why are you letting jealousy consume you? Jumai paused for a moment, gripping the goat's rope tightly. Memories of Sarah's kindness flashed through her mind, how she always stood by her, how she trusted her completely. Her heart arced and tears threatened to fall. For a moment it felt like she might turn back, but then bitterness crept in again. No, she thought bitterly, if I let her marry, first, everyone will look down on me. I can't be the laughing stock of the village. This is for my own good. With that, she hardened her heart and kept walking, forcing herself to ignore the torment inside her. When she finally reached the native doctor's shrine, she handed him the items. He examined them and nodded. It will take me 3 days to prepare the charm, he said. Jumai simply nodded and turned back toward the village. Her steps were heavy as she walked home, the weight of what she was doing pressing down on her soul. Meanwhile, Sa continued making her final preparations, completely unaware of the evil looming over her. She remained cheerful and focused, pouring her heart into the upcoming wedding.